For us, it was quite a new thing. You know, having a child who was identifying as trans was a new thing in our school. This was the first year that had ever happened. So when I heard about this child coming into my class, I told the head teacher my concerns, and I was basically told I had no choice about this. And I was also told that I might face suspension and possible dismissal if I didn't go along with this practice of affirming the child. I simply said, I'm not going to do this because it's harmful. I mean, we're not just talking about cross-dressing here. We're talking about affirming a child in the belief that they're in a wrong body and actually encouraging them to effectively hate their own body and hate themselves as a consequence. That's not safeguarding children. My concerns were kind of dismissed really as well. We've taken advice from the local authority. We've gone through all the correct channels. This is what we've been advised to do. It's not really going to do any harm. You know, your concerns aren't really a real issue. I was suspended for a little while. They asked me to stay at home. They took the child out of my class. And at that point, we got in touch with the Christian Legal Centre for support. And they were brilliant because they gave us so much confidence. They wrote letters to the head on our behalf, explaining that, you know, they couldn't coerce somebody into doing something against their beliefs and their will. And eventually, it actually led to my reinstatement. When I got back into school, it was clear that this child, who I'd not met until then, was very troubled, exhibiting lots of attention-seeking behaviour. Teachers were struggling with the child, and I could see on reports that were written that this child was really under pressure by the approach, I believe, that we were using to support them. Eventually, they actually disclosed their biology to the class. So, that also meant that yet more children were being affected by this idea that you can be born in a wrong body. And I was very concerned about the impact of that on other children in school as well. The only option I felt I had then was to raise it formally as a safeguarding concern, which I did with the governors. And when they dismissed it as a safeguarding concern, I had to go on to the local authority and raise it with them. Having not been satisfied that I was being taken seriously, the only next step was to go to request a judicial review. Who's really harming the child here? Is it me as a teacher? I've lost my job because I'm convinced that this is harmful to children. I'm not trying to protect myself by just ticking boxes here. I've put my job on the line because I sincerely believe, from what I've seen and heard and read, that this is a very dangerous practice. Boys should not be encouraged to believe that they can become girls, and girls should not be encouraged to believe that they can become boys. As the government have finally started to make their own line of inquiry about this, it's supporting the stand I'm making that we should not be affirming these children. And that does give me hope that there might be change. So I think what my case shows is that freedom of speech is being eroded. Teachers are being compelled to go along with this idea, support it actively and in what they say and what they tell children. And what's really ironic, I suppose, here we are in education, if a child went up to a teacher or a head teacher and said, how do I know if I'm a girl or a boy? It's come to the place where that teacher might be uncomfortable in actually being able to answer that question. What does that say about education?